I'm going to discuss something that I haven't gotten into in any of the 30 some odd videos that I've filmed over the past few years. One that a lot of people have requested, and that is vampirism and the primordial darkness associated therein. This is a topic that's very close to me and often very personal, that I don't publicly discuss it. But let me first by saying what vampirism, in a nutshell, is not. It is not a cult of blood drinkers who pretend to be immortal, non-decaying, spiritual or physical beings. With that said, we don't go hurting others. We don't necessarily put on the black eyeliner. Many vampires who work within Luciferianism are very outwardly normal people. Now, I want to discuss what vampirism is. So you take the foundation, you look at nature. Everything in nature, animals, reptiles, plants, survive from feeding on something else. Thus, that is a predator. All living things continue existence by feeding on one another. That is a continual energy transformation, the kind of system that you have. You give energy to things. Also, you give energy to your family, those you love. You take energy from those who are outside your pack, your circle, if you will. You take energy from those who are trying to really show you up in some way. You do it with your brain. You do it with your will, your discipline. There's specific steps that you can follow to become that type of a predator. It's not someone who's going to go to jail. You don't do anything illegal. You are always going to stay within the legal realm, and you use your head. And that is really where vampirism starts. The creed of darkness, I'm going to recite some of that. This is a very important thing because there's so much symbolism with deep meaning in it for the practice and continual process of vampirism. We drink from the sun at midnight, the blood congealed under a pale moon. We drink from the ecstasies of the Qliphoth and leave strengthened and whole. We seek to go forth in the night in the form of the beast, drinking from the waters under the moon. We devour paradise and bathe in the blood of the moon. So, the sun at midnight, if you read Maskim Hul, that is symbolized by the god of the underworld, god of war, and god of death, Nergal. A very special deific mask for me. If you notice the axe on the small altar at the beginning of this video, that axe is about a 200-year-old Persian battle axe, believe it or not, that I stumbled upon purely by chance and got it for super cheap. The axe is a symbol of Nergal. Incidentally, in Persia, of course, is round about the area of where Nergal went all through with various cults. I dedicated the axe, just as they did in ancient Samaria, to Nergal as a symbol of conquering my obstacles, overcoming my enemies, and providing a decent existence for myself and family and friends. That's what that type of so-called warlike or violent symbolism represents today. Represents, unless you're going to war in the army. It represents using your head to conquer, symbolically, all those things in your life. The blood congealed under a pale moon. That's a pretty simple one if you understand the symbolism of Lamashtu, Lilith, Hecate or Hecate. The vampiric goddess, the predator, the wolf, the she-wolf, as Lamashtu's called, in Maskim Hul, is a venerated goddess who, in mythology, takes babies, drains their blood, drinks their blood, eats their flesh, in the form of a wolf, the Ugalu lion-type demoness. But all that represents is not that act, literally. It represents going against the natural order of the gods, being independent, the predatory spirit in full form, kind of like you see with certain animals in the wild, eating others young. Obviously vampires, Luciferians, those who practice within my circle, do not do any of that. That's, none of us are insane. Luciferians respect life, babies, innocent. You can't judge or do anything. All you can do is provide a stable environment for them to grow up to where they think for themselves. Now, when they become adults and they cross you, they turn on you, whatever that is, that's your enemy. That's different. But you wouldn't hurt them literally. You would use your wits to overcome your enemy, and without mercy. Knowing that is the concept of vampirism, the primordial spirit feeding the daemon. I have two specific altars for my daemon. One is Aktaya Dahak Azalusel. That is the Luciferian essence, the spirit itself, my true will, the pathos of achieving what I want. Then I have Aktaya, the offspring of darkness, and I constructed that image of the vampiric, the Aramanic shadow from an ancient Persian coin art, and put my own profile in it, and shaped it with words of power in Pahlavi and various Avestan text, and gave my own blood to fuel that aspect of my dreaming subconscious. It's not two different ones. It's different manifestations under different names. Names and words of power are everything, because naming is compelling temporary order according to your desire. It really sets the stage for everything. Now, Maskim Hul can be a middle-of-the-road non-vampiric grimoire, dealing with the magic of ascension, the Luciferian magic aspect. But the way it was written, and it's one of those things with the daemon, the true will, it's almost in a type of code. It is in a type of code for someone going through vampiric initiation. And that's the dreaming, the spiritual aspect, centered around Lamashtu, Labartu, Nergal, and the seven evil gods. All of the other so-called demons associated with it are really kind of different aspects of the desert spirit. Now, vampirism is about building the power in your own world, but like with Luciferianism, you're planning for the immortality of the daemon, of the psyche. And whether you believe in that literally, if you're an atheist, then you don't. But it's something to look and focus and will your mind towards. Now, anyone who's achieved any type of success in their life knows that when you put your will to achieving something, and the things I've achieved in my life are far beyond what I've ever could have expected. Anything can happen within reason, within this world. I've had many, many spiritual experiences with shades, ghosts, all those things. Now, I don't talk about that in my Luciferian teachings simply because it's subjective. I can't show it. I can show you EVPs, let you hear those, but still, until you experience it over and over again, it's not literal. It's not real to the other person. And I respect those who are not wired to receive or believe in that. You have to really test your individual will. I'm going to explain vampirism within the concept of Nergal and what that symbol represents, and then with Tiamat. And, this is something I'm excited about because I'm working on a grimoire that's centered around Typhonian vampirism. And it's kind of coming out with a couple other books in different time periods. But I've been working on these things for years, and it's been a process of development continually. So now we're going to present the essence of Nergal. Vampirism is one of the foundations in ideology, in the sense of predatory instinct, that is a cornerstone in the evolution of the Luciferian ideology, as it is now in a modern sense. My early major initiatory breakthroughs, prior to my daemon working, and then working with the Karasith Lunar Lodge in Indianapolis years ago with dream vampirism, was through building the discipline and will and focusing and telling yourself to continually drain and draw forth chi or qui life force into your being and holding on to that, strengthening it, using it to empower your workings, and then in the dream, projecting yourself out into the form of your desire was a major and often misunderstood concept, which is the very origin of the concept of the vampire. Nergal in Maskim Hul is presented almost under first glance, without more in a subtle way, as a half vampiric god, because Nergal, like ancient Assyrian kings, often spoke of forms of lions or the serpent dragons, the Muhusu, that would drink blood, the seven evil gods who would drink blood from the veins of man. Originally in Samaria, around the earliest records, Nergal manifested first as a Mesalam Tia, which later became a cult temple in his name. He was a Kuthian bull god, highly violent, war. The bull form is shown with the seven evil gods as well, as being blood drinkers, and of course the Sedu, other type of dream vampiric spirits. Later, Era, who is the Semitic god of death, is from the cuneiform transliteration of Gir Ra, and that means strong god. And then from HRR Semitic, root means to scorch. Nergal is known as bearing Malamu, or the black flame, the terrifying radiance inherited from Tiamat and the old gods. This is presence of being, the spiritual being and the physical being when you have to. You can turn on Malamu, the terrifying radiance, or not, and just blend in. depending on your desire. Nergal was a god of war. Interestingly enough, with the Canaanite and Ugaritic and Syrian magic I'm working with now, he appears as Repesh. Repesh, actually they're variants to the name. Repesh was a West Semitic god of death, war, and plague. Many set attributes in Egypt are from Repesh, but also Baal as well. But Repesh is a very powerful, militant, warlike god. In Elba and Ugarit, Nergal is Lugal Rasap. Lugal is a name for Nergal in Sumerian Babylonia. Around the period of Earth 3, the third, when there are a lot of records, the Kutha god from that city becomes the lord of the underworld. So Nergal, if he was a literal man, a king, a conqueror, was deified, became the lord of the underworld. He married Ereshkigal, the queen of death and darkness. And Nergal is called the Enlil of the mountain. Now the mountain, the word for that is Kur, which means netherworld or mountain. It's really where a Saku and a Zag and those chaos monsters dwell. He's sometimes the son of Anu, which draws association to not only Lamashtu, but the 7 Sebeti, or evil gods. Now the visor for, and I'm telling you this because it is important, symbolism versus today's practice. The visor or advisor of Nergal is Ugur, or Ukur, and it's G-U-R, and that means to destroy, and that's his sword. His sword was his visor. That's what he trusted, his sword. Interestingly enough, he also had commanded a demonic, like enforcer horde, if you will, of day demons. They're called day demons, or Big Day. They're original creations of Tiamat as chaos monsters. Amum Lenu, and they're the lion-headed demons. But also they take all 4 with wings as well. But a specific Lenunum is a visor of Era, the fire and plague god. The 7 gods of Elam, or the 7 evil gods with which Maskim Hul is dedicated to, work with Era in mythology. He's enthroned in the underworld, and he tests all who come before him. He seeks to terrify in the dream, and if you can face him with your eyes in the dream, face him and don't leave, don't allow yourself to leave if possible, then you are bestowed Malamu, and that's entering and seeking the black sun, something an adversarial light. My grimoire of the Nephilim, if you pick that up, the general theme of Nergal is, of course, he inflicts death, physical death, manifests as a bull, and the lion is also another form of Nergal, and he has the visor, the sword. He burns with fire, with flame. He's known, many temples dedicated maces, large bows, arrows. Like my axe I dedicated a while back to Nergal to overcome any obstacles. There's a ritual text which is in Maskim Hul. Lord, mighty storm, raging with your great powers, south storm which covers the land, Nergal, who smites the enemy whom he has cursed, exalted Lord, strong one, with a powerful wrist, whom none can withstand, Nergal, rising broadly, full of furious might, great when praised for his accomplishments, preeminent among the great gods, and warrior whose head held high, respected lord. We see all of these offerings as incense and libations to Nergal, weapons. Nergal, you pour their blood and spill their blood like rain. But there's also a interesting concept where he's referred to as a dragon form. Nergal, angry sea, inspiring fearsome terror, Malamu, whom none knows how to confront. Nergal, dragon covered with gore, drinking blood of living creatures. Nergal seeks continued existence, to overmaster his obstacles, his enemies, to always continue the immortal aspect. So, working with the deific mask in a vampiric aspect with Nergal, you're not approaching something that has personality like you do in a living sense. That's the daemon. It's like trying to communicate with your instinct, your daemon. It's not going to have the personality. It's a guidance. Using real blood in traditional goetic sorcery and other avenues of magic and evocation within Luciferianism is permitted as long as it's your own blood. You do not kill animals or anything else in offering to anything. When you offer your blood to evoke a spiritual force, or to offer to feed your shadow daemon, like the dark fetish that I mentioned I created for Akhkharu under the Utukath cult. In offering blood to that, you're offering it essentially to yourself, to grow within the darkness, to say, I give this much of myself, that I will achieve this much more. And in traditional magic, using blood allows spirits to manifest for a very short period of time, to where you can bind them to a specific object, task, and overall, in goetic sorcery, that type of use of blood, unless you're very skilled, and I've been doing this for years, it's never as effective as using your daemon and willing, once you achieve the association with the spirit and what it represents to you, the elemental attributes that it has, the role in nature that it has, if any. That will get you more results than trying to feed it. In vampiric working, specifically the tunnels of Set, I created a series of blood vampiric servitors, which I painted. This will appear in this Typhonian Vampirism book that I'm finishing up. These blood paintings are actual representing shadow deities in the tunnels of the Qliphoth. The use of this type of magic, this dark magic, is not for every Luciferian. It's going to be a very few who have the spirit for it. You either have it or you don't. The vampiric aspect is present in Utuk Dinal, of course Akhkharu, the Black Order of the Dragon, heralded by the Varkalasi sigil, and the Apep sigil, which publicly is unknown at this point, but will be revealed later. And then Maskim Hul, among others. But Maskim Hul is not a vampiric grimoire itself. It has hidden elements for those who seek. In ancient Mesopotamia, there are numerous tablets that define the nature of specific demons or hungering spirits. And you see in Greek necromancy, offering blood to spirits to feed them is a process as well. Use your own blood. One specific thing is eaters of flesh who cause blood to flow, who drink the blood of the veins, is a reference to the 7 evil gods. And then, O Netherworld, you have drunk the blood of my sacrificial lambs, which that type of sacrifice to gods was common in ancient times. We don't do it today. There's no need for it. You can offer libations and incense. In vampiric workings, as you're finding out, it's not good enough. You have to use your chi by invigorating yourself with aromatic yoga, achieving and crossing the abyss. You're going to command things as a god in ways that you've never dreamed. And I don't mean in the having an ego problem in your daily life. I'm talking about when you're dreaming and projecting out, when you're having communion, when you have spirits infesting at different times, visiting your home, making themselves known and leaving according to your desire. Another thing, back to the tablets, there's a herald demon, like a warrior demon, and this was a Maskim, one of the 7 Maskim. He maliciously drank mankind's blood, and that's from the Ur-3 period. The demons, are incessant drinkers of blood. And then Nergal, dragon covered in gore, drinking the blood of living creatures. How essential is that towards the predatory spirit? And even Ishtar, who is considered goddess of love and war and a manifestation of Tiamat. If you notice some of the Babylonian tablets, she mentions, I shall raise up the dead, and they shall eat the living, the dead shall outnumber the living. And these type of concepts of vampirism are symbols of our predatory and spiritual growth. And when working with spirits in necromancy or in vampiric workings, you're not devouring everything that comes at you, but you will drain energy from it the second that your daemon instinctually drives your dreaming body of shadow, that is danger. And you have to be smart about your practices. That's why the Black Order of the Dragon's been a highly independent and solitary guild for nearly 20 years. In ancient Syria, we have in the Ugaritic Canaan grimoire coming up a demon called, spelling is MZH, which essentially later on became Mehazel, or Ameon. That's a demon called, which means sucker or drinker, drinker of blood. And this power eats flesh and drinks the blood of its victim and is associated with the evil eye. You'll see the evil eye concept in the power of will and determination. You'll see that in the Utuk Dinal, Areshk, and various other manifestations of the will. Vampiric workings entering the underworld in Maskim Hul. Part 2 of Chapter 6, Necromancy and the Rites of Areshk may be used vampirically. But I want to warn anybody who wants to jump into that, who might be 18 years old. You need to build your foundation of the structure of adversarial light and the Luciferian practice of developing will, astral body, aromatic yoga, and then the daemon, that communion with your daemon, true will, before you go into the vampiric aspect, because it can fragment and destroy you if you are not strong enough. From an early age, I was always guided towards it, but I've always had to work at these things. With the concept of Nergal as the underworld god, the death is a continual, the symbol of death is the transformation, and the manifestation in different forms represent the intensity of it, and the intensity of the infernal power and the dreaming body, projecting yourself out into the form that you desire, dragon, bat, hag demon, wolf like Lamashtu appearing as a she-wolf. All of these things are aspects of continual practice of vampirism. In your dayside practice, you're utilizing the will and offering to the gods Zeus, Nikephoros, and the gods of victory. You are the bringer of light in the darkness of night. Just like we're going into the season of Samhain, and when the veil is close, Hecate smiles upon us. Entering these dark fields of nightmares and dreams project us to a whole different level of spiritual growth, and the predatory instinct will make you a better person. You'll be a much fairer person to those around you. So I just wanted to give you a little introduction. Anyone who has questions about vampirism, if I can answer them in a public format, not going past the mysteries of the Black Road of the Dragon, or that which is hidden in Maskim Hul,